Okay, our speaker today is Bart Merrill. Okay, and Bart has lived in Japan and Mexico and is married to a beautiful Japanese lady that we met just recently. I met for the first time recently. He has also traveled to and spent time in Korea and Germany. Let's explore how. Oh, back up. That was bad. Let's explore how culture affects different aspects, even humor. This is Project 3 from the Humorously Speaking Manual. Make them laugh. Time is 5 to 7 minutes. The title is Culture Shock. Bart Merrill.
Have you thought about different, have you thought about different ideas that comes from the culture you live in? What are some of the things that we think of as Americans, probably only Americans, that are out there? Does it? I'm thinking more of a cultural, okay, so apple pie and baseball, but just a thought process like blondes have more fun.
I know one's personal space.
Personal space, so how close we get.
Americans don't like people to get into our personal space.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why we came here.
They're not.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
They're space invaders.
Yeah.
Okay.
Individualism in general.
Individualism in general. In Japan, for example, you go to a baseball game and people cheer, and it's all on cue. Everybody's doing the same thing. It's conformity. They go to school. Everybody has the same school uniforms. When you get into the humor of things, it's way different as well. When we look at humor here in the U.S. and you compare it to Japan, it is way off. And we'll get to that here in a little bit. Mexico, I lived in Mexico. I went to a comedy club there, and it took me 3 or 4 times of going to the same show. Number one, to understand it, but then you have a little bit of difference, but they're pretty close to U.S. humor. Like, que curves y yo sin frenos.
Okay.
What curves in me without brakes? Two blondes are walking in the woods. They come across a set of tracks. They're looking down trying to figure out what kind of tracks they are. They get ran over by a train. Now, I live in a daily situation of culture shock living with my wife, because there's some things in Japan that are just completely backwards. Let's take the lock on a door. In America, you have the thing that turns here. Which way is locked?
Left.
Well,
Left unlocked, right?
but is it? But
Up and down.
it's up and down. Every door that I've seen in Japan, it's horizontal. Okay, so that's just one thing. My wife was taking out the garbage can, and she came in and she was just upset because the neighbor had brought in the garbage can and on purpose put it the wrong direction just to make her mad. Here's our fence. Here's our house. Okay? Patrick, when you're putting in your garbage can, which way is the lid going to be facing?
This way.
Why?
Toward the street.
But why?
See, what's the pin rope?
So you can lift up the lid, because you're going to do that multiple times during the week. My wife is totally the opposite. It goes in this way because it's easy to pull out at the end of the week when it's full to the curb. So we got to think about people's perspective and the way they see things. She has her reasons. We have our reasons. Now, she thought that they did it because they just wanted to make her mad. They did it because that's the way we see things. It's easier to open and put stuff in because you're going to open it more times than you're going to pull it out to the curb. Animals speak different in Japan. Did you know that? What does a dog say? Woof woof. It's wan wan in Japan. Wan wan. I don't think they bark any different. They may. I didn't notice. What about a cat in Japan? It's meow in Japan. A rooster. Coco. Go figure. So you need to look at the different aspects that you're coming from. Then you have the language barrier. I was in Mexico. I was in college, and so I was young, still on the dating scene. And with my best Spanish, I called up this girl to ask her out. And I had a coach, the guy that I was living with, the family that I was living with, the kid that was living there. He was coaching me, and to the best, he was just listening though. Then he was going to coach. I called her up and I says, "Quería hacer cosas contigo." I want to do things with you. ¿Qué cosa? What things did you want to do with me? He was just rolling on the floor. No, don't say that. That doesn't work in Mexico. She did go out with me though. The funniest thing, and it's humor in different cultures is just so different. I have the funniest joke, and I'm telling it in Japanese. But I've set it up, and it's a blonde joke, I'm sorry. I've set it up. I've set up the whole thing about blondes. I've just set it up. Blind man goes into a bar. Wait, can I step back just 1 second? It's a mixed crowd. Gaijins, Americans, and Japanese. And I'm telling it in Japanese. Blind man goes into a bar. Sits down at the bar and he says, "Bartender, I got a joke for you. Got a blonde joke for you." The bartender says, "Sir, you might want to think twice about that." "Why's that?" "Well, you got two guys over there shooting pool, they're blonde. The waitress, she's blonde and she can take care of herself. The guy sitting right next to you is blonde. And for matter of that, I'm blonde." Blind guy thinks about it a second. "Yeah, you're right. I don't want to have to explain it 5 times. The Americans were rolling. The Japanese were just looking. What's so funny? So when you're in different cultures, you got to understand the perspective that they're coming from of a lifelong situation of events that have formed the way they think, the way they do things, just the way things are. And it is so interesting to get into that and figure out why they don't understand, why they put the garbage can that way. It's pretty interesting. Thanks.